You may have seen the popular television show Hoarders, which focuses on people whose lives are literally taken over by the amount of stuff they have. Is this a real disorder or a mental illness, or just made for television entertainment? Are you or someone you know a hoarder? We're going to find out right now on It's Your Call. Can you imagine living in a house like this, filled literally to the brim with furniture, clothes, junk, even food or trash? Well, millions of people do. They are known as hoarders, and according to the experts, it's a very real form of mental illness. Hello everyone, it's good to have you with us. I'm Lynn Doyle, taking a look today at the obsessive-compulsive disorder known as hoarding. This is when a person finds it absolutely impossible to get rid of anything, and as a result, they often live in an endless collection of clutter, chaos, and even danger. I first became aware of this behavior when I discovered the show Hoarders on A&E. It was one of those things that repulsed me, yet I found I absolutely couldn't take my eyes off the screen. My head was filled with questions. How did people live like this? Why didn't they just throw away all that junk? Are they just crazy? Well, I did a little bit of checking, and here's what I found out. They are not crazy, but many hoarders may be suffering from a form of mental illness. Compulsive hoarding syndrome seems to be common among those who suffer from obsessive-compulsive disorder, and there are a lot of them too. Between 700,000 and 1 million people in this country are said to be hoarders, and it's particularly prevalent in women over 50. That really got my attention, I have to tell you. Dr. Marla Deibler is a clinical psychologist and the director for the Center for Emotional Health of Greater Philadelphia. She specializes in the treatment of obsessive-compulsive spectrum disorders, and she serves as an expert on A&E's Hoarders series. Marla, thank you so much for joining us. Are you like me? I mean, are you just fascinated by people who suffer from this syndrome?
It is a fascinating disorder, and the individuals that we see are so varied and so interesting.
When you say they're varied and interesting, is there not a specific profile of someone who is a hoarder?
There's no typical profile of individuals that hoard. They can hoard just about any kind of item or thing.
Give me an example of, if you could characterize a classic hoarder, what they do hoard or how they become a hoarder.
Well, most individuals begin exhibiting some sorts of signs of hoarding around 13 years of age. So there is a tendency pretty early on in life, but it is something that's also cumulative. So usually it doesn't become a problem until people are around average 50 years of age.
All right, again, you've gotten my attention, but I do want to backtrack for a second. The 13-year-old age group, that's the kind, particularly young girls, that's the kind of individual who say, well, I want to save this movie stub because I went to the movie with, with John, or I want to save this rose for my senior prom. Isn't that kind of normal? How do we know if our child is perhaps going to have a problem or if they're just exhibiting normal teenage behavior?
Absolutely, it is normal. Many of us find items sentimental. We want to hold on to them. Hoarders tend to exhibit 3 kinds of overvaluing. One is that they like items so much they find them to be valuable to the point where they feel like they need to keep them. Second is that they find items indispensable, like they have a plan for the item, or it could be useful in some way, or someone else might be able to use it in some way, so they hold on to it. Or they find the item to be something that is sentimental to them. It has a special kind of meaning for them, so they can't let it go.
Okay, so let's move fast forward here to the age 50, when you see an increase in hoarders being diagnosed. What is it about that period of our lives that seems to bring this disorder to a head?
That's a great question. Usually there's some kind of traumatic onset that people report. They report the loss of a loved one, perhaps a death in the family, a divorce, or some kind of onset like that that worsens the behavior.
So if you're already experiencing some sort of emotional trauma and you have this tendency to hold on to things, it could really escalate. Is it dangerous?
Sure, it can be. They live in sometimes squalor, can present health hazards, problems with access to doors and closets and bathrooms and things like that. It's
particularly dangerous, I would imagine, for the elderly or the senior citizens.
Absolutely.
Who live in danger of falling or injuring themselves anyway. If they're living in a house where there literally is no space to move, this could present a real danger.
Yes.
Are hoarders typically the type who will admit they have a problem, or does someone else have to point it out to them?
Many hoarders have limited insight. That's typically what we see, especially when it comes to certain items like animals. We really see very limited insight.
Well, we're going to talk about animal hoarding because that unto itself is a specific compulsive behavior and a certain danger, and you hear about that all the time, but that's later on in the show. Right now we are talking about hoarding, and I'm sure that by now you have some questions, so this is the time for you to join in. Do you know someone who is a hoarder, or are you perhaps one? Has it affected your life or the lives of others around you? And if you are thinking that you might be a hoarder, why do you feel like you have to keep things around you? Finally, if you're looking for help, we are here to provide it for you. A couple of different ways you can get involved. You can email me directly at lynn@lynndoyle.net. Of course, you can always find us on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube as well. We have a host of experts here who are going to help you, including Adrienne Weinberg, who is the owner of An Organized Approach. She's a professional organizer and home staging consultant. She's also a member of the National Association of Professional Organizers, and during the 10 years in her business, she's helped many hoarders. Adrienne, thank you so much for being willing to help those who might be suffering from this syndrome. What's the most bizarre case you've ever run across?
Well, two extremes come to mind. I worked with, and this is going to touch on something you just mentioned, I worked with an 80-year-old woman who was being evicted from her apartment due to the hoarding. It was a very dangerous situation, especially in the kitchen. And she was also walking with a cane. And the first thing that I did when I started working with her was to create paths in the apartment so that she could get to the various rooms in her apartment. And it also occurred to me, I didn't know where she slept because you could not walk into her bedroom.
When I see scenes like that on this show, Hoarders, I think, is this staged? I mean, I know I'm in television and reality TV is all the rage right now, but you actually say no, people live like this.
It is not staged. It's not staged at all. As a matter of fact, it's probably, in some cases, way past what you could even imagine.
Look at this, though. I mean, I'm sorry, this turns my stomach. It's like a car accident. I can't help but look at it.
It's hard.
But people, they live in that. Do they not find that repulsive themselves?
No, apparently not.
Oh.
To them, it's in a way comforting. Marla could touch on that from a therapist's point of view.
This is comforting because you're looking at the same pictures I am, Marla. I mean, I guess I just have had a hard time getting my head around that this is a real disorder.
Sure. Many people are comforted by their items, and others, and most individuals who hoard, have difficulty with the idea of letting go of their items. So it's not necessarily that they enjoy having them around, but more so that the thought of getting rid of them produces so much distress that it's easier for them to avoid.
Well, we're going to talk about what people need to do if in fact they are hoarding and how they can take that first step to get help. And we're also going to give you some suggestions if there's someone you know who you think is a hoarder on how you can get them to get that kind of help. First though, we're going to go to the telephone lines where we are joined by Heidi, and Heidi knows about this hoarding personally because it's something that she struggled with for many years. Heidi, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So did you consider yourself a hoarder, or did you just feel comforted by having items around your home?
More on a mild level, I'm a hoarder. I've always had clutter issues, and I was close to losing my job due to lateness, and I couldn't declutter it by myself, so I finally had to ask for help, and Adrienne came in and helped me prune down my stuff to a manageable level.
Now tell me about your environment, what your home looked like, what the various rooms in your home were like.
Clutter everywhere, not much room to walk.
And when you say clutter, I mean, give me an example. Was it like the old newspapers, pizza boxes, possessions, boxes of things you had bought? What was there?
No, books, DVDs, clothing, laundry.
Stuff that you used every day?
Not that I used every day, but just things that didn't have homes.
Okay.
And I didn't have tools to maintain them. To maintain it.
And at one point you said that it actually ended up making you late for work. Did you have a hard time finding the things that you actually did need?
Exactly. Yeah, I was running late in the morning because I was running around trying to find exactly what I was going to wear that day, and it made me late for work because I get out the door late.
Yeah, because you know what? I mean, I know where my stuff is. I am very organized, but it always seems that when I want one hairbrush, it's downstairs, or I need something and it's upstairs, and that frustrates me. I can't imagine the kind of frustration level that you experienced.
Yeah,